In this interview, I talked to Mushfiq from the website Flip. Since 2008, he's done 175 deals, and we get into his tips for buying and selling websites, including what he looks for when he's thinking he wants to buy a website. We talk about where he finds these, where he likes to buy them, and where he likes to sell them. We get into some of his negotiating tips, both on the buyer and seller side. Plus, we get in depth on the on-page conversion points, including what he really likes to do as far as tables and how he gets most of his clicks over to Amazon or other affiliate programs. We also talk about why he thinks A/B testing usually isn't worthwhile for most people. We definitely get in the weeds, and if you want to learn more about Mushfiq, you can go over to the website Flip. He has a lot of case studies and other information available there. Let's get to the interview now. Hey Mushfiq, how are you doing today?
Good, Doug. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to meet. I think we have a lot of mutual friends and stuff after I started researching what you're doing. But for the folks that don't know you, can you give an intro on yourself and kind of what you do? And you're over at the website Flip, so that can be sort of the reference point. But yeah, what do you work on?
Sure, yeah. So I've been mostly buying, growing, and selling websites since 2008. That's when I got started. I sold my first site in 2010, and since then I've done about 175 transactions on both buying and flipping, and then also brokering. So yeah, I have a newsletter where I share a lot of information on flipping, growth strategies. I do detailed case studies on my portfolio. That's at the website flip.com. But mostly I'm into just buying and selling. I don't build from scratch.
Okay. And when did you first hear about, I guess, affiliate marketing or niche sites and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that was 2008. Pat Flynn and then Spencer Haas, those guys got me started. So, yeah.
Okay, so way back then, because I was a few years after that. So you literally found out that this world existed and then jumped in head first.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. How did those first couple transactions work out for you? First couple things that you did?
Yeah, it was a different world back then. I was building sites on Google Blogspot, some Black Hat way. I was very active in the Black Hat world, Black Hat forums, doing some things that today would be like, wow, building. So you could put up a site with random content that's essentially, copied and you could rank, right? There was no rules back then. So, Blogspot, blogs, Google AdSense was the thing back then. My first dollar was from Google AdSense, and, slowly realized over time, with all these Google updates that, content, quality sites, and slowly transition out of that phase to better, more authoritative sites.
And why did you decide to buy sites and acquire them versus building them from scratch?
I have I have a thesis that I like to buy distressed properties, distressed websites that are underperforming, but they're built by hobby type bloggers. So it's really easy to acquire those at whatever the multiple is, average multiple, and then really just pull the levers and then 10x the income, right? Because they were just not done right. You can't really do that with a brand new site. I mean, you can, but it takes a long time, like 12 months, 16 months, 18 months to start seeing traction. So I can skip that time frame. And, if you have capital, it makes sense to just buy a site if you know what you're looking for. But if you're just getting started, definitely go through that whole phase of continually building sites. So I enjoy buying sites and then just tuning them and then, waiting and then selling. I think that process works for me.
Is there a sweet spot for either the price range of the site or the earnings amount that really seems to work out well for you?
Yeah, so apart from earning site valuations, I like to stay under 50,000. That's capital wise, that makes the most sense to me. I think a site earning about at least $500 to $1,000 minimum is where I like to do it, because you have to have some traffic and some earnings for that to for those tweaks to actually work. Another thing is it's not always about the earnings. I bought a site that was getting 100,000 visitors monthly but making $300. That to me, that's like a win right there, right? That's way too under monetized. The owner didn't know what they were doing, and so within a month I bumped it to 3,000 and now it's at 10,000, right? So that's just how, kind of what sites I'm looking for. It's a combination of high traffic, low revenue, or, okay revenue and somewhat okay traffic. It's just that sweet spot there.
Okay. And there's a few thumb screws you could turn and really get a lot of leverage out of it. Okay. And we'll get into those for sure. And this is the kind of stuff that you share, case studies and that sort of thing at the website Flip.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Back when you got started, did you have, or actually, you've been doing this for long enough that you've had, sort of different phases, I'm sure, but were there some assumptions that you had that ended up being completely false, maybe in the early years, I would say?
Content quality the impact of content quality has changed nowadays, top notch or nothing, right? Back then it could be, I used to use an interesting plugin. I think it's still around. It's called WP Robot or something, where you could, give it different websites and it would automatically scrape and then put it on your site and you start getting traffic. And, nowadays that's crazy, right? But, so content has changed. The impact of backlinks, right? The SEO, search engines now want quality authoritative backlinks. So those things have all significantly changed, and it's for the better. So those are the main assumptions that have more or less changed in the SEO world for sure.
And I guess those are things that we just can't ignore now, and that's just what the industry's doing.
And that's good.
It definitely has been better as a consumer and user of Google and trying to get information. It's definitely better. I remember hitting sites wondering how the heck that was a result for Google. So
for sure. Yeah.
Going back to the price range and some of those other metrics. So the traffic and the earnings may not be as important, but you're looking for an area which is not leveraged completely or optimized completely. Are there certain monetization methods that you stay away from, for example, or are you open to any sort of website?
Yeah, my expertise is affiliate marketing and ad display ads. I don't do any selling leads or anything like that. So I like to stick with anything that has an affiliate program or anything I can put display ads on and do it like that. And then, of course, digital products that we can sell. So anything that's online based.
Okay. And are there any, I guess, quick wins and sort of quick tips where people usually make that sort of mistake, especially when it's under optimized for, let's stick with affiliate marketing first, and then we can talk about that ad-based monetization.
Yeah. So, when I'm doing due diligence on any site, I'm looking at the top 10, 15 articles that are getting traffic. And I'm looking at, are they putting the right elements on the page, comparison tables, call to action buttons. One thing I see, a lot of people add comparison tables, but they don't link the image in the table to the affiliate network or Amazon or whatever, right? That's the really easy one. Some people miss having a comparison table altogether. That's the easiest win right there. Other people miss call to action buttons within the product reviews or adding affiliate links within the content itself, contextual links. So these kind of things I'm always looking for. Nowadays, I can just look through Google Analytics, look through the couple of the first 5 or 10 pages of the buying guides essentially, and I can tell, okay, I can double this income or triple this income, and then my acquisition is based on what they're paying, what the revenue is today, but I can see the potential and then I buy it.
Okay, and let's dive into some of those details.
Sure.
For the comparison tables, I think common wisdom now, because a lot of people like us have talked about using comparison tables, and it's a great way to present information in a compact space, all those things.
Sure.
I've seen some studies from some plugins that say comparison tables don't work as good as what the data might suggest. So where do you stand on that? Have you seen some of that data and those studies as well?
Those guys have more data than I do. I have seen them work very well. I track the outbound clicks on my site, right? And I see that most people are, interacting with the comparison table, call to action buttons, and the images, right? So not sure. It works for me.
Got it. To be fair, with the number of transactions that you've done in the sites that you've had, I'm pretty sure you have more data than they do. And the people that I'm talking about are trying to sell a plugin. So I think we have to look at people's motives and their incentives, but you have real data on real sites. So I believe you. You're not selling me anything.
And it depends, right? It depends on how you set up the table. Is it mobile responsive? When, most people are 60% of traffic, 50% of traffic is mobile. Many tables I see, even if they're there, they're not mobile responsive. That's the first mistake. So it depends on what data set they have. But, on a site that I have fully optimized with the most mobile responsive comparison table with call to action buttons, colors that, the color of the call to action button really needs to be something crazy like yellow or red, because so it pops out. When doing all of that, when you're scrolling on a page as a user, you're going to see that, you're going to see those elements and you're going to click. That's what my results show. So,
okay. So in a quick summary, so a bright, contrasty call to action button, an image, which is affiliate link. How much data do you put into a table? I know that's a classic mistake.
Yeah, I have only 3 columns on my comparison table. The first column is the title and the image. The second column is 3 bullet points of the high-level features. And the third is a call to action button. That's it. I know there's all these people that put a lot of data in there, and that's fine. You can do that. I do that, but I put that as a different comparison table at the end of the article, right? Or somewhere close within, not at the most above the fold region of the page where most people are going to interact. So yeah, that's how I do it.
You're the only other person that I've heard talk about a second table with more details, because if someone gets to the bottom, they're really engaged with the content and they want more details. Yeah. Okay, very good. How many products do you put into a table?
Yeah, so this is something I tell people. Most people like to do 5, 10, 15 product reviews, right, in a buying guide. I only put 3 at the top in my table. Maybe the top of the line, something in between, and something that's budget friendly, and just keep it at that. Too much info is not good. I always like to think as me as the user, right? If I'm going on an article and seeing 10 options, I could have just opened Amazon and seen 10 options, right? There's no different than there. So just show me the top of the top. You did the work, so just make me focus.
Perfect. I like it. And I know the Wirecutter or other best-in-class type sites, they don't give you a table with 15 options. They give you exactly what you mentioned: editor's choice, premium choice, budget choice. Okay, exactly. Awesome. Anything else with tables that you think is really important? You mentioned responsive, of course.
Yeah, no, I think call to action has to be different, responsive, and images. Yeah, I think those are the easy ones.
You also talked about having contextual affiliate links within the body and the content, and I take it those work out pretty well. Do you have any kind of breakdown on the percentage of click-throughs that come from the table versus those contextual links versus buttons or such?
My tables get about 20 to 25% of the link clicks. The second most clicked element is product boxes within the reviews, or a call to action button within the reviews. I like to have a product box which has an image, some high-level bullet points again, and then a call to action button within the reviews. That gets the second. And I think the third, and I don't have data to say how much percentage, but third most would be the contextual links. It's not the highest click-through element on a buying guide type article, but on an informational article with affiliate links, it gets good click-through, right? It just depends, because on a buying guide, your elements are taking precedence, like on the screen, what's popping out, right? It's the product boxes and the comparison table are just so well, big on the screen, the buttons are big, people are going to click, versus a small blue link or something. So it just depends on the type of article. Yeah, I don't have concrete data, it's 5% or something.
Sure. Yeah. And I think, it doesn't matter, right? Because that you're getting a big enough increase, and technically you could do A/B testing and really be granular, but it's diminishing returns, I guess.
Yeah, with A/B testing, I come from a engineering and science background. Most niche site owners do not have enough traffic numbers to a specific page to justify an A/B test. So it sounds cool to say, but the results just won't make sense here. Wirecutter and those guys can do it because they get millions of views per month. So.
Have you gone down the route of A/B testing, or you always knew that you wouldn't get the statistics that you would need?
My A/B testing is just my no like software with traditional, confidence intervals and all that scientific approach. It's just me testing across a lot of websites, and that's not an A/B test. It's just intuition and what's working and what's ticking the revenues up. Because at the end of the day, I might get more clicks, doesn't mean I'm getting more money. So
Very good. How many sites, by the way, do you have in your portfolio right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I used to have a ton of sites, 18 sites. I sold them all and saw that because 2017-ish is when I sold them all. The reason 18 sites, you focus on one or two because you like them most, and the others just die down. And now I focus on 5 sites, 5 authoritative sites that I grow. The goal is to grow them to more than 6 figures in value, sell, replenish, and then buy more and just keep it to 5. Just to have focus on those.
Okay. And you're great as an interviewee. I was about to ask, what's the break point when you actually think, hey, I'm going to sell this? Do you have some favorites? How do you come to that decision, hey, I'm going to try to put this one on the market?
Yeah, so I could maybe twist that and say, what ones do I keep? So the sites that I like to keep are within a few verticals that I want to dominate. Right now, I'm in the outdoor and dating niche verticals. I have acquired 2 pillar sites on those that are 15 years old each, DR57s one of them is getting 100,000 views, another is at 40,000, and both making 10 to 20K revenue monthly. And those become my pillars. So I've kind of what I do, I'm not niche. I don't care which niche. I'm niche agnostic. I find a good pillar site that's an authority site in the niche. Once I acquire that, I see, I'm testing and figuring out if this is a good, does it have enough good affiliate programs that pay out significant amounts of revenue? Can I negotiate with the brands? And if I see all of that and I'm seeing this site growing, I kind of say, okay, I'm going to build out more sites or buy out more sites, within that vertical. So I kind of go the other approach. I don't pick a niche, I pick a site essentially to add to my portfolio. And the remaining ones that don't meet those criteria, I sell off.
Okay. And as far as acquiring the sites, where do you typically buy them? And I have a few questions around that stuff.
Yeah, this is going to sound weird, but Flippa is actually my best source. And I'll get to, and most people say Flippa is like the eBay, right? There's a lot of scams, a lot of bad listings. But if you know what you're looking for, Flippa is a gold mine. And the reason for that is Flippa has market share. All the new bloggers, the bloggers who kind of put together sites that are passion sites, right? That they wrote their own content, they go to Flippa first. That's the first thing that pops up when they search how to sell my site, right? So those sites get on Flippa, and those are the sites I want to buy that have been aged over 10 years. They've put their, blood, sweat, and tears into it and good content. And those are the ones that are not going to show up in Empire Flippers or Motion Invest or Investors Club because they probably don't hit the revenue threshold, or those marketplaces are much smaller. So, Flippa I've bought 2 of my best sites in the past 2 years that are now, higher than 6-figure valuations from Flippa. My secondary source is my Facebook groups, and then also I have a private network of 2,500 buyers and sellers that we kind of share deals, and they send me stuff, I buy it, or I send them deals that I don't want to buy. So it's kind of like a network there.
Gotcha. And that makes sense with Flippa. A lot of times people ask about Flippa, but they're brand new, and that's kind of a dangerous place if you don't know what you're looking for, but you know exactly what you're looking for and how to verify and all the due diligence. So, okay. And as far as negotiating with people, how do you approach that? Since you've done so many deals, you probably have I would say almost an unfair upper hand. So what do you do?
Yeah, I take a couple, prong strategy here. I'm first starting with due diligence. I can know within 5 minutes, and I have an article that's my 5-minute sniff test, essentially. Does this pass the sniff test, right? Once it does, I'm going into negotiations. But what I'm looking at is, obviously, websites today are valued at 32x, 36x, around that range, monthly profits. And, that's the baseline. Most people kind of know that now. But and some people ask for much more. But what I'm trying to figure out is, are there easy wins on the site that if I buy it today, within a month, how much can I increase it? So that gives me some leverage on if some guy asks for, 50x, can I justify that? And he's not willing to budge. So first I'm kind of figuring out what are the easy wins. I keep those to myself. I'm not going to share that to the to the seller. But I'm also then looking at I'm trying to twist those easy wins to see, okay, what the seller has done wrong. I could say, oh, hey, the content quality is weak. All these articles are going to need changes. Website template is really old. All these things. And I put it a data-driven approach. I kind of list it all out and tell the person, hey, these are all things that you haven't done. I know. Let's mark it off, reduce the price by X dollars to compensate for that. And I have seen buyers that just come out of the blue and just say, hey, you want 35x? No, I'm going to give you 25x with no justification. That's not fair, right? So I like to provide the justification. And then if they want to argue, sure. But most of the time they say, okay, let's meet somewhere in the middle, right? They see me as a very, somebody nice to work with, no challenges. And I understand what they're feeling because I've been on both sides of the table, right? I know exactly what both people are trying to think of. So.
Got it. And it's similar to, I haven't purchased a lot of houses, but I have some friends that are more into real estate, but that's kind of a classic thing to do. You list out all the flaws, and then even if it's kind of a minor flaw, it is a negotiating piece that you can have give and take with. Very good. So you buy primarily from Flippa and your private network. And then as far as selling, where do you like to do that?
Yeah, so now that I have a kind of a private network, I give it out to my list, my followers, my group there. If somebody bites, that's great. I save on the commissions. It's about 10 to 15% savings, so I can share that with them on the savings side. The second would be Facebook groups, so there's private Facebook groups, and the third would be brokers. I like to do Flippa for smaller sites that I have, less than 50,000, because I'm a broker, recognized broker there to the Flippa platform, so I get some benefits there. And I also have a large following on Flippa of 1,000 watchers. So whenever I put a listing up, all of these watchers get a notification, and the bidding wars kind of begin. But if it's a 6-figure plus deal, Flippa is not ideal. The buyers there are kind of less around the 30 to 50K range. And if it's a 6-figure deal, I like to go to Empire Flippers or Investors Club.
Okay. Very good. Any tips for people who maybe want to try to sell on Flippa? Maybe they have not a big valuable site that would be eligible for some of the brokers.
The listing, the one benefit you have with Flippa is you get to control how you tell your story on the listing page. You don't get to really do that on the broker side. They kind of take all the information and just share what they want to share. So on Flippa, if you have a site that's good, it's just not earning enough and you want a high multiple, just explain to the buyer what are the easy wins. What would you do if you maybe had time, and say why you didn't have time to do it. There's no excuse. I mean, you can make excuses, but everybody understands why they want to sell, right? But just lay out, okay, I didn't do this, I recommend this. Also, if you have time, put together a list of keywords, a content strategy for the buyer so that they don't have to worry about it. Packaging all of that up, you should get a higher multiple because now the seller is seeing that there's opportunity for growth, right? That's what I think would work.
And it's a pretty simple thing to do, deliver a handful of keywords and say, here's a content plan, here's an easy win, and it's, who knows if it'll work, but at least they have a plan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. And any other details with maybe selling on Flippa? That's an awesome tip. But yeah, any others just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, a detailed P&L. I see many sites that don't even put an Excel spreadsheet with the last 12 months of revenues and costs. Screenshots. My listings are very detailed where I don't really get any questions from buyers because I have 12 months of screenshots from every affiliate source that I have, a detailed P&L, Ahrefs or SEMrush report so they can see the backlinks. I even, even on my sites that are earning a lot, right? I like to leave some room for growth because the buyer wants to know that there's some opportunity. So I even share keywords, right? I say the winner is going to get like 20 keywords, access to the writers that were writing for the site. So it's kind of a turnkey solution for them, right? To the point, not perfectly turnkey.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I didn't think of a couple of those things, but as I peruse listings before, I would think I would never bid on that. There's incomplete data. And what you're describing is just someone approaching this as a professional, which
Exactly.
you are, you've done this for a long time, you're earning good money with it. So if you come in and you provide all the data, a little extra stuff, someone feels a little bit more trust just because there's more information there. That's great.
Right. Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
When you're selling and you're going through the negotiations, how do you deal with that? Knowing that, you have your own strategies and ways to approach when you're purchasing. So how do you negotiate as the seller?
How do I counter negotiate? Like, how do I, when some buyer wants to offer, and what am I saying, right? Yeah, because I know what they're gonna say. They're gonna come back and tell me, hey, this is wrong. It's kind of pisses me off, but I know what they're coming from. They want a deal, so, and I'm willing to cut them a deal. I know some sellers that are stick to their guns that, if the market says 37x Empire Flipper says 37x, it has to be. No, I leave room, right? I'm willing to go down 5 monthly profits, like 5x lower, to kind of close the deal. So I'm negotiable. I know, and the reason for that is once they buy from me first time, it's a quality site. I don't sell garbage sites, right? Those people will come back to me, follow me, and buy the next deal from me, right? That has happened many times. I have sold one, they bought 5 or 6 from me over the last 5-10 years, right? So it's good rapport, right? Just to build that up.
Got it. And it's funny. Sorry, I was just thinking about how it pisses you off when they come back and they're busting your balls on a couple things, same things that you would do. Okay, and you'll go as low as a 5x. Now, how do you, when you're not dealing with a broker,
5x lower than
5x lower.
Yeah.
When you're not dealing with a broker and maybe you found someone on your email list, how do you actually do the transaction and the closing? You're dealing with large amounts of money, the cost of a house in some places. So how does that work?
Yeah, it's always escrow.com, my go-to. Everything is safe there. I've never used anything but escrow.com.
As far as contracts or lawyers, do you have someone on a retainer that helps you do all this stuff?
I've had a lawyer draft up a generic sale agreement, and so I just use that for sales. If the buyer wants to do their own thing, they're happy to, but I provide that as a template to use.
Okay. Anything else with selling that I didn't ask about?
The transfer part is extremely important of the website, right? Just before that you start closing, when you finalize, just make sure you know who's going to do the transfer. It should be one party, not both parties simultaneously doing a transfer. So it's either buyer side going to do the transfer or the seller side. Just make sure that's clear and set the expectations. Like I can transfer a site within 2 days, right, and just be done with it. But the buyer may want 2 weeks to analyze everything and make sure it's right. So, just set the expectations early, because right after you do your escrow and the money is in, it will suck to know that, hey, this guy wants an extra week to analyze everything. So just set expectations up front.
Is 1 to 2 weeks the average or the standard for after the transfer and making sure everything looks how it's supposed to, traffic and earnings and all that?
Right. Yeah, 7 days, 7 normal days is ideal for reviewing everything.
Moving on to some of the deals that didn't work out or maybe mistakes. So with the number of deals that you've done, I'm sure some of them kind of flop. So do you have any sort of spectacular mistakes that you've made here?
Yeah, back in the day, PBNs, and now also they're kind of hot, right? And I bought a few sites that are PBNs, and what happened was the person who built up that site had a 250 PBN network, and all of his sites, plus all the sites he sold, just went down in one night, right? Just died dead. So I lost that site. And after that, it's like, I'm not dealing with PBNs ever again. So since then, I have not bought any PBN sites. So that's one that was like, in the face. Others have happened where I assume that, I can 10x the growth here, and that hasn't happened. So, but one thing is, I'm always buying underappreciated assets. It's either underappreciated in terms of the easy wins, or underappreciated in terms of I get a very good multiple on it, right? So it's because I buy right, and that's in real estate as well. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell, right? You buy right. So I can always flip it for, even if maybe it's only $1,000 profit, let's say all inclusive. I haven't lost money because I'm always very strict on my criteria. So, after that PBN fiasco, I haven't had any issues. So.
All right. Yeah. Do you remember what year that was?
Ooh, 2000. I want to say 12, 13. Okay. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. When they were really like booming. And nowadays it's kind of not people are still selling sites with PBNs, but it's not like everybody wants to build a PBN now. They kind of understand that's not the long-term strategy.
Right. Yeah, and I got caught up a little bit in that stuff, and it was 2013 and 14 roughly before I started to stay away from it. So you kind of mentioned that people are still using PBNs, and it's kind of on the underground, but you have your ear to the ground and you kind of know what's going on. Can you elaborate on that? And these are private blog networks for people that don't know, but what do you see out there?
So back in the day, PBNs were very easy to pick up, right? So you could see a site, and in general, the first signal for a PBN is, you get links from the home page, and there's like hundreds of articles on the home page that are long form, and you just see those links. That's easy to pick up. People have gotten smarter. Nowadays, PBNs are masked to be like mini niche sites. It's harder to pick up, and it's so that has changed. What I'm seeing in terms of people selling is they sell a site, and I'm seeing these in big brokers, I'm not going to say who, they sell the site, but they don't provide the PBN network with the site, which I feel is the biggest red flag ever, because you buy the site, there's no guarantee the seller is going to continue linking back to you. They have no obligation, unless it's in the contract, but most of the time they have no obligation. So, in terms of, PBN structures, what I'm seeing now is a network of sites in a similar niche that are all interlinking together to boost up a main authority site. It's harder to pick up now, but it's still a PBN network. And something I've seen people, a lot of people are buying guest posts. Everybody buys guest posts, but most people are buying guest posts from big networks, right? The well-known, like public marketplaces. Over time, if you keep doing that, the same people keep doing that becomes a PBN, right? It becomes a network that's interlinking. I mean, I could talk to a person and he might buy from that marketplace. So would I. And then, we're kind of all in the same arena. So, that's why I stay away from those. I just do my own outreach, and make sure that website is not part of any other PBN, so I can control the link equity there.
And what approach do you have for outreach? You mentioned, either paying for guest posts or getting guest posts, but what's your overall approach for link building?
Yeah, so this part may be interesting, is that I actually don't do like mass cold outreach, or don't have any software or people in-house for that. When I acquire a site, I said that I acquire sites that have been aged and, or they're expired domains or something with a lot of, let's say, backlink authority, right? So once I have kind of accelerated the growth of the site with what backlink authority the site has, I then do strategic guest posts, let's say. So I reach out to, for example, the brands that I'm promoting, right, the e-commerce brands, and I say to them, look, I have a team of expert writers that understand this niche. Let me write an article for you guys, for your blog on your e-commerce site. Now that is, in my opinion, I haven't seen any studies, but that is a very powerful guest post compared to getting a guest post on a random blog, right? Because Google is favoring e-commerce over blogs on their SERPs, right? So if I can get an e-commerce site linking back to me and recommending my authority site, that's a better signal than any random site doing it. So I like to do those kind of strategic guest post partnerships rather than just blanket, just spray and pray method, right? Yeah.
I like that because I'm sure you get a ton of emails, but yeah, you get just
yeah.
really bad pitches these days. And one of the
Yeah.
worst is when I actually reply back to their email, but their automation
Right.
keeps asking me for responses. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Their software's broken or they don't know what they're doing. So, okay, that's very good.
Yeah.
Any tips for people to actually land a guest post or a spot on the e-commerce side? I know you mentioned saying, hey, we understand the industry, like we are part of the industry here. So any other tips to add authority to your pitch?
Yeah. So first is I plainly ask for the guest post. So it's one way, right? That's the best. Some of those work, some of them don't. I know owners in some of these e-commerce brands. I can because I've been in this niche for a while. I can kind of say, hey, do me a favor or something. I'll give you a social media shout out. So that's the second thing, trading, right? You give them a guest post. They publish your guest post, but you say, hey, I'll give you a social media shout out to all my followers, maybe an email blast or something, right? It's not a backlink to backlink trade, but it's still something they can benefit from. And the third thing is a mutual where I'm giving them a guest post, but I'm also doing a product review of one of the e-commerce products, right? And I don't like to do that because then it becomes a two-way backlink, but it's still better than doing a two-way backlink with a niche blog. So it works. So give something in return and they're happy to do that because they're spending thousands of dollars on their marketing department, their affiliate department, and getting this free just for an article. They're probably more than happy to do that. They'll probably spend much more just doing cold outreach to other blogs. So you can come up with a strategy for them.
You mentioned expired or aged domains. How do they fit into your strategy?
Yeah, so recently I have been getting into those last, I would say 12 months or so. So when I have figured out like the pillar sites that are part of my vertical play, right? Outdoor dating, right? Those two niches I want to dominate. There's only so many other sites in those same verticals selling at any given time. So I could wait a year or 2 years finding the next deal to add into my portfolio. But what I do now is actually, because I already know the keywords, I know which shoulder niches are working. I know exactly how to monetize. I can go acquire an expired domain, an aged domain from various marketplaces or auctions and just build up content because I already have the writers in place. It's very cheap for me to do that. So yes, I do sometimes start from scratch, but it's only when I have a competitive advantage over everybody else. I don't start from scratch on a random niche that I just want to play around with. I need to know that I can dominate there. So yes, I use expired domains.
Is there any specific criteria that you look for when choosing and shopping around for such a domain?
Yeah, so, obviously good backlinks, backlinks that I could not acquire otherwise. So if it's, normal niche site backlinks, I can go and buy those. I'm not going to pay a premium for the domain. But if for example, I bought a DR50 expired domain with links from New York Times, Forbes, CNN, there's just no way anybody can acquire those in a short period of time. So I'm looking for those very good expired domains. Also looking at, when I'm doing due diligence on an expired domain, I'm looking at topical relevancy through archive.org, right? I'm looking at what did it start off as? Did it ever change? Did it get redirected to a domain that has no relevance? So I'm trying to see the history of the site. And if that's all good, the domain profile is good, I pull the trigger and buy it.
Is there any minimum number of referring domains that you don't even look at below that number?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, 50 to 100, I think less than 50, I don't look at. But all of those 50, at least five of the domains have to be extremely good that I can't buy. Like I can't acquire those links.
Got it. And then when you I just want to make sure I have it right. So you found a domain, has some great links, has enough of them. It's relevant to the topic area. It hits all the marks. Are you just publishing on that site, or do you redirect to, one of your
Yeah.
other sites?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's very tempting to just redirect to maybe a silo on your authority site or some page. That scares me because I have a six-figure asset here. I'm gonna redirect the domain. There's no data, nothing to prove that that will work out for the best. So I don't do that. I like to keep them separated, build up another site on the side in the same type of niche, and then, just eventually maybe do. So, what I have done with these authority sites is because all these e-commerce brands want to work with me, right? I can leverage that. And when I build up a new site, I just tap into that same network again and say, hey, you gave me a deal on that one, a higher commission rate. Let's do it here as well. So keep them separate also minimizes my risk. If one dies, I have another. I don't ever commingle assets.
Perfect. I respect that. I'm pretty risk averse myself. And I want to point out one thing that implicitly is in play here. So you have worked out certain deals, maybe higher affiliate commissions, maybe other things that make any sale that you have in a particular industry more valuable than your competitors. So you literally can go buy a site and know, hey, I can just get my deal in place on this site and it's automatically X amount of money. You could even quantify it based on the current data. And sure, your projections could be off, but for a fact that you can pay, 50x and actually still be getting a deal. That's crazy.
And I paid 75x for this outdoor site that I bought, right? Because the seller was not willing to budge, right? Yeah, I mean, so I saw, but at that time I didn't have these special arrangements in place, right? That came later. But I paid 75x based on the potential opportunity I see, the easy wins that we talked about, right? And I'm willing to pay up to 50K. I'm willing to pay any value in there because it's within my capital budget, right? I don't really care. The multiple is a vanity metric, right? It's if you see opportunity and you see that opportunity within 1 month, which I usually do, I'm willing to pay any crazy multiple just to seal the deal, right? I'm okay with that.
Awesome. Well, we're kind of wrapping up here, but there's a couple more quick questions I want to ask.
Sure.
For the affiliate side, is it primarily Amazon or is it other blend of programs?
Yeah, I like to stay away from Amazon as much as possible. 20% of my revenues across all my sites is from Amazon. Most of it starts off at majority Amazon, but then I diversify away.
Are you working directly with companies or via like Share a Sale, Commission Junction, some of the bigger marketplaces?
Yeah, Share a Sale, Commission Junction, Impact Radius, Avant Link, all of them. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so if you see a site out there, it's usually mostly on Amazon, and then you'll slowly move it over to these other areas. Is it to spread the risk overall, or do you earn more right away by doing that?
Combination. You can earn more. It really depends. But one strategy that I do use is when I'm going through the Amazon Associates report, I'm looking at the top products that have been sold, not in volume and in revenue, in sales generated, and I reach out directly to those brands, right? And the reason I'm reaching out is to say, hey, I'm going to continue sending you sales on Amazon. Maybe I move you guys up to number one position or something. Of course, the product has to be good. Let's assume all of that is in place. I move them up, in positioning. But I tell them, look, I need a private deal with you. I will continue sending you traffic to Amazon. You get the sales. We'll create a unique affiliate ID. I'll track the sales. At the end of the month, I'll send you a report via email and an invoice via PayPal, and you pay me an extra 20% on all the sales generated. So now I get the benefit of Amazon's high conversion rate, which their e-commerce Shopify store is not going to do. I also get the full cart value of the user. And for the specific products that I sold of theirs, I get 25% commission. So I have many of these deals set up with brands. So it's the best of both worlds there.
What's the success rate on pitching that deal?
I've done 10 pitches, and I would say 4 of them have been successful. And that's because I have these buying guides that are at the top of Google, right? So they're already there. I can show Google Analytics traffic that, hey, you just signed this deal with me, you immediately start getting sales. It's not like, hey, I have a potential article that's going to get there one day. No, I'm coming really full force that you want to have sales. I mean, the other way you're going to do it is beat me on the Google ads on that page, but I'm still going to get, more than everybody else on that page. So I have that authority there that I can demand what's right in terms of the commission payments.
Have you ever sort of pitted the competitors against each other and say, hey, well, I'm going to go to the other 2 brands and somebody's going to pay it? So
yeah, I mean, I don't like simultaneously shop it around. I just do one at a time and then see which one locks in, and obviously the good products, right? But what I have done, I've gotten thinking I'm going to probably do that to level up my niche size, is some of these brands that I am promoting, I mean, I can go and private label my own product, and because I kind of figured out what they can pay me in commissions, what they're paying to Amazon, I can kind of see the margins there, right? Like they're paying 40% in fees, including my commission. So I can kind of see, all right, I can probably just start up my own FBA brand and just promote my own products and just kick them out, right? So yeah, it's a competitive world. So.
It sure is. Yeah, and you have all that data and the relationships, and the traffic and the conversion rate from your site. So very cool. All right, and sort of the final question, just I'm curious, do you have the email list running on your various sites, or do you do email marketing in any capacity?
I do. My outdoor site has a 19,000 email list, gets sent 3 times a week and generates automated revenue. I have like a 40 email campaign that I have built up. I like to do like 3 informational emails and then 1 commercial, and just recycle that over time. So yeah, that's pretty much on, it's automatic, and I get about 1,000 subscribers a month to that. So.
Very nice. Very nice. Email marketing is pretty fun. Do you have it on other sites too, or that one just happens to work pretty well?
Yeah, not all sites work. So my dating site, I could have it more or less. The thing is, I get paid like $150 per sale. So, I don't want to disrupt their buying behavior by capturing an email and hopefully selling them in the future when they can give me $150 today. So it works on niches that are more hobbyist. There's a long-term aspect to it. There's multiple ways they can solve a problem, not just one way. With dating, it's, you just pick the site you want to use, right? And you're going to use that for a while until you maybe find the person you're looking for, or you go to another one. There's not like I'm going to try 4 or 5 of them. You kind of commit. You paid a monthly fee, so I'm willing to just get the revenues from that and be happy. But from outdoor site, there's so many products. You can buy this. So there's a multiple ways to kind of get the full ecosystem of that vertical onto the user through email marketing.
Awesome. Well, anything else before we finish up? Anything that you want to share that I didn't ask, or any parting words?
Parting words. Learn how to do due diligence before you go and buy a site. If you are a newcomer, please build a site from scratch. You will understand the ins and outs, and then you can buy a site. Don't just jump head first into this. It's not a typical like buying a real estate. It doesn't always hold value. A site can crash tomorrow, so just know what you're doing. That's all.
Good advice. And people can find you over at the website Flip. Any other places you would like to point out?
No, just the website flip.com. And that's where I'm active.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Thanks for having me on.